A 67-year patient palpitations and disease, dizziness, noise in the ears, feeling of shortage of air. So objectively the patient has got pale damp skin, vesicular respiration, respiratory rate is 22, pulse rate, you see the pulse rate 200. It means if the pulse rate is 200, if it is more than 100, it means you need to think of what? You need to think of tachycardia. Whether it is atrial or ventricular, that doesn't matter, but the primary thing is you need to think of tachycardia. And next thing is blood pressure is 100/70. ECG heart rate is 200. Ventricular complexes are widened. Keep this thing in mind, ventricular complexes are widened. Okay, deformed location of segments ST and wave T is disorganate. The wave is not changed, but it superimposes on QRST. What kind of arrhythmia? Actually, this question doesn't make any sense. Senseless question. I'll explain you why it is a senseless question. But anyways, before that, let me teach you some of the basics. First important thing is we have got a specific type of tachycardia where the patient will be having palpitations. He'll be having syncopal attacks, palpitations, syncopal attacks, right? So all these things will be seen in the patient, and patient complains that, doctor, I have palpitations and syncopal attacks only sometimes, so I have to call it as paroxysmal. Only sometimes the patient will have palpitations, and when the patient will have palpitations, of course he will be unconscious for a brief period of time. After that again he'll regain consciousness, and again after some time, after drinking coffee or tea, again he'll have palpitations, and again he loses consciousness. So these are not happening, these are not occurring continuously, right? So these are occurring only sometimes, maybe once in a day or maybe once in a week, right? So you call it as paroxysmal. Now in this patient, when should I do an ECG? See, when this patient is asymptomatic, if I do an ECG, the ECG will be absolutely normal. The ECG will be absolutely normal. Now, when the patient is symptomatic, then you find some findings in the ECG. If the patient is asymptomatic, you don't find anything in the ECG. But if the patient is symptomatic, then you find some ECG changes. Now, how do we know that the patient will be symptomatic at a particular time? We can't know it, right? So for that reason, what you do is you do a 24-hour ECG recording with the help of one device that is called as Holter device. With the help of Holter device, we generally record 24-hour ECG. Okay. Now, when this entire condition which I described here, this is called as paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Now, what is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia? I don't want to go in detail of each and every concept on ECG, because that is not really needed for your croak exam. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just writing down the ECGs, and just seriously you just practice these ECGs, and these are enough. Okay. So in what is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia? In paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia, when you look at the ECG, this is a P wave, Q wave, R, S, T. Again you have the P wave, Q, R, S, T. right? So this is your P, Q, R, S, T. Again you have the P, Q, R, S and T. Now when you look at the ECG, in case of paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia, the patient heart will be beating for about more than 100 beats per minute. The heart rate will be more than 100. Now in this supraventricular tachycardia, when you look, what exactly happens is, as the heart is racing, as the heart is beating fast, as the conduction is happening very fast, so what will happen is, in the ECG, this T wave, this R wave and this R wave, both of them, the distance between R and R is called as RR interval. So the R wave and this R wave, both of them, they come nearer to each other. The distance, the RR interval distance is reduced. And next thing is, this T wave and P wave, they also come nearer to each other. So they come so much near to each other that they, both of them, the T wave and P wave, they intermingle with each other and form a single wave like this. Okay, now let's look at the ECG, how it looks. And before drawing the ECG, keep in mind one thing, that any problem above the ventricles, will have a narrow QRS complex. Narrow QRS. Any problem below ventricles, sorry, not below ventricles, that is in the ventricles itself. Any problem in the ventricles will have a wide QRS. Keep this thing in mind. Okay, if you see a narrow QRS, then it might be the problem above the ventricles. If you see wide QRS, then the problem is in the ventricles. Okay, now let's look at the ECG. How does it exactly look? Of course, when I tell supraventricular, it means it is above the ventricles. It means the QRS should be narrow, right? Now look, this is the narrow QRS. You see? So this is the exact ECG. This is the narrow QRS. See, the QRS is, what are the changes which you can see here? The changes which you can see here are, one is narrow QRS. Second thing is, look at this R and this R. The distance between R and R is reduced. So RR distance is reduced, RR interval is reduced. And third thing is, you can see there is only one wave here. Why one wave? As I told you, T wave and P wave, they both superimpose on each other. So you don't find any P wave there. So absence of P wave, right? So if you find these three things in an ECG, narrow QRS, reduced RR, absence of P wave, then definitely it means it is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Okay, now let me put the ECG in front of you. Look at this ECG. Here you see the QRS complex. The QRS complex is narrow, right? And next thing, the R and R distance is also reduced. And third thing is, you see there is only one wave here. The ECG same looks like this one which I drew here. There is only one wave, absence of P wave. So this ECG is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia.